What if everything you believe about the world, your government, religion, even the laws you follow turns out to be an illusion? Picture a system so intricately designed that it shapes your life from birth and yet you barely notice it. Hello, I'm your name, and today I'm going to show you how two ancient laws are the hidden script behind our modern society. These laws woven into politics, finance, and personal freedoms have remained invisible by design. But once you learn how they work, nothing feels the same. Unraveling the hidden laws. From the moment you're born, symbols influence you in ways you might never realize. These symbols are more than mere images. They are coded messages aimed at steering your subconscious. Let's take corporate logos as an example. Something like Chevron's iconic inverted V or Shell's scallop design isn't just a visual brand. It's built on ancient archetypes tapping into age-old psychological triggers. That's why even without knowing it, you feel trust or authority when you see them. And when symbols extend into the realm of religion, their power deepens. They can elevate your consciousness, or they can enforce control. It all depends on who's using them and why. Now let's talk about those two foundational hidden laws, the law of the land and the law of the sea. Law of the land versus law of the sea, often seen as just a maritime code. Maritime or admiralty law actually has broad reach past ports and oceans, all the way into courtrooms, banks, and your identity documents. Law of the land governs customs, traditions, and physical territory, what we typically think of as our laws. Law of the sea, however, transcends borders. It originated to regulate trade on water, but over centuries has become a bedrock for global commerce, finance, and even legal systems. Imagine walking into a courtroom. You file a claim, you dock at the court's threshold, and you meet a judge which etymologically connects to Saturn, the deity representing control. Their bench, from the Latin for bank, hinting at the meeting of commerce and law. In this space, you're not dealing with civil rights. You're governed by principles rooted in maritime law. Finance money is liquid adversity. Every day, money flows like water, governed by vessels, banks moving in streams, cash flow and described using maritime imagery. Liquid assets. When a ship docks and issues a manifest, a person is born and issued a birth certificate. Each document binds you to a broader commercial system. Citizenship, too, isn't just about belonging. It's a legal construct tied to asset and liability in this global commodified system. You don't just live, you participate in commerce from the moment you're born to the moment you pass on. Layers of symbolic manipulation. Religion, governments, and financial institutions all utilize symbols, rituals, and language to shape behavior. But what's startling is the shared structure. 1. Symbols ritually affirm authority, from corporate logos and flags to religious icons. 2. Language conceals structure, like calling courts portals and documents certificates. 3. Rituals reinforce participation, baptisms, citizenship, ceremonies, bank signings. They all embed you deeper into the system. Reclaiming awareness. Once you know how deeply these dual laws and symbolic systems are embedded in daily life, a new clarity emerges. You begin to see how your legal identity, your financial life, even your spiritual beliefs operate within a clever structure. And when you question them, that's where autonomy begins. So ask yourself, will you accept the facade or choose to see what lies beneath? Will you remain part of this system unexamined, or start reclaiming your mental sovereignty? This is just the beginning. In the next segment, we'll dive deeper into how these symbols bleed into religion and how that shapes collective behavior. If this sparks something in you, drop a comment below and let's discuss. And if you haven't yet, hit subscribe, because awareness is the first step toward true freedom. In our last section, we uncovered how the laws of the sea and land quietly shape the legal, financial, and social frameworks we live in, often without our conscious awareness. But these laws aren't the only tools used to influence human behavior. There's another layer, more subtle, more ancient, and far more psychological. It lies in the use of symbols, rituals, and dogma, all designed to bind belief and behavior in a powerful trance of obedience. Have you ever wondered why the robes worn by priests, judges, and even university graduates are black? It's not just a matter of formal dress or long-standing tradition. These garments are a direct homage to Saturn, the ancient god of boundaries, discipline, and authority. Revered across cultures, Saturn represents the enforcer of structure and law. And the black robe, It's a symbolic uniform of that archetype, a subtle but constant reminder that you are standing in the presence of power, order, and judgment. These aren't coincidences. They are carefully chosen signals. Wherever authority is being asserted, whether in courtrooms, cathedrals, or academic halls, the influence of Saturn lingers cloaked in shadowy formality. Even our modern concept of God, particularly in organized religion, has been molded to fit systems of governance and control. Across time, divine figures have often reflected not just spiritual truths, but social structures. Egyptian mythology, for instance, speaks of Sirius the dog star, a celestial force tied to divine timing, wisdom, and rebirth. Its teachings wove through Egyptian cosmology and eventually seeped into the frameworks of later religions. Over centuries, these celestial connections were absorbed, reshaped, and integrated into doctrines that guided not only belief but behavior. This intersection of religion, commerce, and law is not a set of isolated domains. It is a unified system intricately designed to influence how we think, how we act, and even how we define ourselves. Every time you step into a courtroom, you are participating in this system. The courtroom is not just a place of justice, it is a ritualistic stage where symbols of power are enacted with precision. When you cross the threshold, you're not merely entering a room. You're symbolically passing through a gate, transitioning from the law of the land to the law of the sea. And under maritime law, your identity shifts. You are no longer seen as a living, breathing individual, but as a legal entity, a corporate fiction. That's why attorneys, not you, speak on your behalf. That's why you don't directly address the court. It's not personal. It's procedural. It's symbolic. This isn't justice in the human sense. It's jurisdiction in the commercial sense. Even the terms we use are steeped in maritime origins. Bailout, for example, comes from the practice of releasing a ship from its moorings. Passing the bar refers not just to a test, but to the physical barrier in courtrooms, once a gate between the public and the inner sanctum of law, now a symbolic divide between two legal worlds. Understanding this doesn't just decode legal language, it liberates you. Because when you begin to see through the carefully arranged pageantry, you begin to understand your true position in the system. And with that understanding comes power. The structures that govern our lives are complex for a reason. They are designed not just to function, but to conceal. Complexity breeds confusion, and confusion breeds compliance. And that's exactly where Jordan Maxwell devoted his life's work, shining a light on the confusion, exposing the symbols, and translating the language of control into something everyday people could understand. Maxwell's insights were not just revelations. They were tools for navigating a system built to disorient you. He taught that symbols are not just decoration, they are codes. Logos, legal terms, religious images, all of them are part of a linguistic matrix that most people never learn to read. And yet, once you do learn the language, everything changes. For Maxwell, knowledge was never passive, it was revolutionary. The simple act of paying attention, of digging deeper into the meaning behind a symbol or a legal term, becomes a path to liberation. Because when you understand how the system functions, you no longer walk through life blindfolded. He warned, "Nothing in this world works the way you think it does," and he meant it. You must question everything, the rituals you participate in, the words you speak, in legal or religious settings, the symbols you carry or display, without second thought. Only by confronting these deeper truths can you begin to dismantle the illusions that quietly hold you in place. But breaking free isn't just about having information, it requires a shift in perception. Today's world is noisy. Entertainment, consumerism, polarized politics, they all serve as distractions cleverly designed to capture your attention and keep you from noticing what's really going on beneath the surface. As long as your focus is on the circus, you won't look behind the curtain. Maxwell often said that the real war isn't outside, it's in the mind. The more you learn, the more you begin to resist. The more you resist, the more you awaken. And in that awakening, you're no longer a pawn, you're a player. He called on each of us to take that journey not just for ourselves, but for the sake of a collective awakening. Because awareness spreads, it ripples out, unsettling the structures that rely on mass compliance. One person may seem small, but a spark of understanding can ignite a fire. In the end, Maxwell left us with a challenge, a doorway, a simple but profound question. Are you ready to take that step, or will you remain in the audience watching a performance written long before you ever arrived?